Alright, today we're going to be removing the intake manifold, and this is the stock unit here. As you can see, I've already removed the fuel rail that goes right here, and I got that, I removed that about 2 weeks ago or so because I was installing the flying Miata one, as you can see right there, but I didn't finish, and then midway I decided I'm going to do the skunk manifold. So we need to remove these bolts up here and also the bolts below, and that's going to be a total nightmare to do. I already know. Don't forget to remove your hoses. 2 right there, 1 right there, 2 over here by these nipples that I've already removed. Undo your intake, whatever intake you have. In this case, I have this turbo inlet from Flying Miata. I gotta undo that, and then undo the throttle body, throttle positioning sensor right there. So, oh, and also the throttle cable, which I've already done. And then you just put that away. Take off that bolt right there, and then down here, it's gonna be tricky to get anything, but these bolts we need to remove. They are a total nightmare to remove, just letting you know. So be prepared. It's gonna be extremely fun to do this. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take off this throttle body cable bracket. Let's see here. And this one's probably like a regular hex 10 millimeter for you guys, but for me, I converted this into this Allen button head. So take this guy off, put him aside for now, make sure it doesn't scratch anything. And then I'm actually putting all my hardware in this baggie so I don't forget where anything goes. And then we're gonna undo this. I might even just delete this whole thing once I'm done with everything here. So this you could just pull, but if it's tight, get yourself a needle nose. And twist. Okay, see, once you twist it, it breaks the seal and it pops off. I might just delete this whole thing right here because I don't need it. Looks like there's a bunch of actuators and sensors and stuff that goes right here. Goes in the toolbox or the box right here. Just delete those guys, delete the canister. We'll see. So those guys are off, and then now we need to take this guy off. So that connector is off. And the good thing with recording everything through GoPro, you can actually go back and watch what you did if you forget. TPS freaking sensor right here, pop that off, put that aside. And then here's another connector right here. I think this is for the idle air control valve. So this guy's gonna come off too. It's a green connector. Hard to see, but it's in there. And that's under the intake. And then I'm gonna pop off this intake tube. There you go. Intake tube out. And then you can see that cable right there. Disconnect my air intake sensor right here. This isn't factory, this is for the turbo setup. So the EGR tube right here, this is actually a Flying Miata one, but I'm gonna remove it because we're not gonna need this anymore. That means I have to remove it from the other side as well. All right, next thing you have to do is you gotta disconnect these hoses. You see them down there that connects to the idle air control valve. And the other guy over there in the back on the right side goes all the way to the bottom. So if you can reach it, grab it and disconnect it. You kind of see it right there. Now these hoses are actually new for me. They might be old for your car, so be careful because they might be brittle. You might have to buy a new one, to be honest. Oh, there it is. So this guy, plug it, and then move the clamp back on. Okay, there you go. You got one. All right, now that we got those two hoses disconnected, we're gonna wipe this area real good because this shit just made a mess. Okay, I'm gonna wash this whole engine bay again after everything is done before we tune, because I did a lot of things here. I was grinding on the firewall to make space for the tires, so that caused a lot of metal shavings to go everywhere. And I was sanding the body kit, so all the fiberglass shards and shavings are everywhere. So trying to make sure that we don't have any of those remnants living on the car. And if I don't wash this engine bay, those things are just gonna stay in the corners and little nooks. So I'll make sure we clean that up really well. I'm gonna attempt to remove the lower one first. Well, let's first make sure it's a 12. It's a 12. So, get our light. See if it helps down here. There's one here, one right under here, which is gonna be awesome. Okay. The only thing I don't have is a swivelly ratchet, but hopefully this will help. We'll just put this right here for now. Okay. So I'm taking out the nut under the innermost runner. Okay. There he goes. Of course it would fall. There you go. One guy. I'm gonna take out all the bottom ones first because those are the fun ones. And then we take out the rest. Whew. Now I need a swivelly. So this one is in an awkward area. All right, so we've taken out the nuts back there. You can see it on the left and then on the right. And then we need to take off these guys over here, that guy and the other guy. And then we're gonna go up over here and take these guys out. So I'm gonna do that right now because this is gonna take a while and then I'll come back. All right, so we got all the bolts. The one under the brace right here was a total nightmare to get, but not bad. So now we're just gonna shake this thing off. Hopefully we disconnected everything and we move it out. Woo-wee! All right, so the Skunk manifold has two bolts, or two areas that you're gonna put the bolts. You're gonna use the top ones, at least for the NA. Check this out. See the bolt pattern? 1, 2. So this manifold will fit NBs and NAs. NAs will use the top holes right here. You don't want to use the bottom if you have an NA, unless you swapped yours to an NB motor. So check this out. If you use the top ones, the holes line up right there. But if you use the bottom one, it will definitely not line up. See that? So just make sure and double check your gasket and put it against your head, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, oh shit. Well, you're gonna want to put your gasket first. And the gasket, you want that little tang on the left right there to go towards the firewall. So if you're looking at the gasket, the little bump should go towards the face of the manifold. There you go. These things are kind of pain in the ass to line up. All right, I'm gonna drop this in here. There you go. There. And then I got brand new bolts, or bolt nuts. I've had these nuts sitting in my hardware kit for, I don't know, a few months. As you guys know, I collect a bunch of new hardware. Every time I go to the hardware store, I always buy more. I'm like a squirrel. If I need one thing, I go over there and buy like 50 things, and then I just kind of hide it. So I'll probably do a video of just my bolts, my hardware bolt kit, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There you go. That's in. Then these lower ones will definitely be fun as hell to do. Oh yeah, this will be great. Because there is absolutely no room in there. So there we are. We're installed. All I gotta do now is put the 4 bolts under and then tighten them all down in a sequence. I need to look at the sequence, but I'm assuming I'm gonna start in the middle and then go out. Top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom. But you never tighten the tops and then all the bottoms, or all the bottoms and all the tops, because you'll end up warping the manifold. So there it is. If you have an issue fitting the bottom right here where the wiring goes, I would undo the positive plug on the starter and then kind of shift it down, and then you'll be all right. So finally, after purchasing some tools down here, and I just went to Harbor Freight because it's a local place and I didn't have time to get anything else. But S wrenches and your offset wrenches, these will be your lifesavers when you're doing the bottom bolts for the manifold, and I'll show you why and how. All right, so over here, we got our manifold installed. As you can see, the top bolts are fairly easy to access. They're right there. So you could reach these, and you could even torque it if you wanted to, but we didn't have to do that because, well, actually I did torque the top, but not the bottoms. So from here, everything's easy, right? I used the OEM gasket, not the Skunk one, but the bottom is another story. I actually removed the alternator, as you can see over here. We're missing an alternator, and we'll go down there right now and I'll show you what else I did. All right, so down here, besides removing the alternator, which frees up this whole area right here, we also removed the oil sender that was right here, and then the oil filter. And also over there, we removed the starter brackets. And then from here, you can actually reach the bolts quite easy using the S wrenches and the offset wrenches. So if you're doing this, just make sure that you have those 2 tools, S wrenches and the offset wrench, and then you're good. You also have to be careful right here. That's the top of the solenoid for the starter.
it's almost touching the manifold. I actually had to clock the power cable slightly lower because it was touching the manifold, so I don't think Skunk thought about that, really. I think the NB starters will clear better, but you know, if you have an NA and you just bought this part, you don't want to go buy another starter and then add more to your project. So just make sure that you clock the wire lower. But that's pretty much it. I mean, everything else is a simple bolt-on. It just takes time. Like down here is a total bitch, and if you don't have patience, it's gonna drive you nuts. But when you have the right tools, it's actually quite simple, to be honest. A lot of people blow this up saying that it's extremely hard, but it's extremely hard because people don't want to take the extra step to remove the alternator, the oil filter, and the oil center, and the brackets for the starter. So there you go. We're gonna finish bolting this down and then I'll show you the finished product.